talking about Janemba, and I guess this is sort of a plot summary for Fusion Reborn. Um, he was, or he makes his first appearance due to the fact that the ogre that was in charge of the soul cleansing machine, which is basically a container for the evil in hell, decides to slack off, and it explodes, and then referring to the ogre, gets consumed with this stuff that mutates him into this yellow monster that's childlike and I guess similar to Fat Boo, uh, and easily defeats Pycon, who is a filler character that a lot of people love for some reason. And then um, Goku tries to intervene, and he's fighting all these different copies of Janemba, who again is in his yellow form at this point, which is followed by Goku turning into a Super Saiyan 3, and then being able to finally defeat the original Janemba. But his efforts are quickly thwarted because Janemba, like a lot of other Dragon Ball villains, has a transformation, which is the one that people, I think, are much more receptive to, Super Janemba, the red and purple one. And he easily defeats Goku as Super Saiyan 3. Then Vegeta shows up and gets smacked around as well. And while they're hiding, they devise a plan to fuse. And then they turn into Gogeta and defeat him pretty much with little to no effort. So I would say Fusion Reborn is probably my least favorite. And I'm not trying to say it's the worst original film or any. I really hope people don't do that. But I noticed a phenomenon where I'm a lot less annoyed with films, like Dragon Ball films, than the actual show. Because one of the things I understand about movies is that you have to make every minute count. So when it's the Goku and Vegeta fest, it's a lot easier to just kind of accept it as that. And a lot of times when they do a film, they give the other characters at least something to do, depending on if they use them at all. Um, but no, Fusion Reborn is just, it was obnoxious to me that it's the only film out of all of them from just of Z doesn't have Krillin in it, because a lot of times his presence or that of Piccolo would stop it from just being the full-on Saiyan show, and that film is the only one where it's just Saiyans. Like, I always remember Fusion Reborn for three reasons: Gogeta, Super Janemba, and it being the only movie Krillin's not in out of any of the ones from Z. And that actually shows how important of a character he is in the actual show versus like what the fans think, because no other character appears as many movies as him, other than Goku. Hell, I remember in Z it was Goku that's in all of them. It's Krillin that's in all of them except for Fusion Reborn. And then it's Gohan that's in all of them except for Bio Broly. And then Piccolo and Vegeta are tied for, or like appear the most out of anyone after that. Because there's multiple ones they're not in. Yeah, Music Fiend decided to appear. Yeah, Janemba's he's I guess renowned for having a good design. Oh, I saw that, Vader. We'll discuss that. He's renowned for having a really good design, sleek looking. I've always said before that I've never seen a male villain where they can show their belly and people think that's cool. But he's got a good design. He has this really unique ability, which is the Bunkai teleport, where he just cuts himself up into little pieces and teleports to wherever you are while he's fighting you. Very unique power. And I guess what is so frustrating about him is that if they had just given him a little bit of personality, like just, because I'm not that big of a Frieza fan. Like I think he's all right. He's not my favorite villain, and I get really sick of them only ever bringing him back. I'm actually a lot more lenient, I think, than a lot of other people are when it comes to being upset that he returns constantly. But he, at the very least, has a distinct personality where we've seen him speak and talk about this empire, and just who he is at this point. Janemba was in that movie more than any character besides Goku. I went through and counted the minutes, and I still couldn't tell you what he actually wanted other than just chaos, but we wouldn't know that by anything he says. That's a big problem with a lot of the movie antagonists, that they seem to just be. And it's funny that when I see people like, "Oh, this is my favorite character," a lot of the characters I really like uh, tend to be protagonists because a lot of the villains don't seem to really have that much of a personality. Just like the original Broly, I said the new one's much better, but the original one was just like he's just an antagonist. He doesn't strike me as being that captivating. I'll still give the original Broly more credit for having more of a personality over Janemba, who doesn't need like just he's in that movie more than any other character, and I don't know anything about him as far as what he wants to do. My only gripe is that he is so similar to Majin Buu. It is ridiculous. Yeah, the first form is fat and playful. Second one is, lean and evil. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that they actually have a running gag in some of the games where if you put if Janemba and Kid Buu encounter each other, they understand what the other one is saying. And a lot of games they've actually shown the two to basically be friends. Like they're to each other what Cell and Frieza are in some of the filler in Z and GT, where they're, I guess compatible as allies in this villainous kind of way. And it's really funny too because I just could never buy the idea that a villain who believed in nothing but destruction could have a friend, like could look at Kid Buu and go, yes, this is someone I want to spend time with and watch the mayhem with. That's why I said that plot thread feels more like that makes the games more fanficky to me because of just how we don't really ever see the villains in Dragon Ball, other than maybe King Piccolo with his sons, actually care about somebody besides them. That's why I was like, oh yes, I'm friends with Kid Buu. I was like, really? Seriously? Also, they have a whole discussion about who's the strongest of the original 13 movie villains, and I couldn't care less because, it's like people still, the idea that power levels are actually considered an entertaining thing or something that matters is really comedic. Like I said, Goku and all these other Saiyans are supposed to be so much stronger than, Yamcha and Tien, but they were getting their butts whooped by the Cell Juniors just as bad, if not worse. I mean, they're just it's a plot device that basically after the Frieza saga didn't matter anymore. That's why they had the Scouters melt, because that was Toriyama trying to say, hey, power levels are not a thing I really want to invest time in anymore. I really hate that he even came up with that at this point, because people still, they're like, this character has a power level of 40 million. What? Okay, Bader says the games made him more interesting than the movie. Yeah, and it really sucks because, like I said, I give films a little bit more leeway in the sense that I understand that due to the limited time they have, they can't do everything. But this was the second most appearing character in that movie, and they don't expand upon him or had like just it was weird. And again, I don't mean that film sucks because Dragon Ball has had like lame antagonists before. Uh, as long as the regular characters or the protagonists have interesting personalities or quirks, I'm a lot more forgiving. But him as a villain, he's really hurt by that. There's are certain people who still talk about how power levels still matter. Yeah, it's really funny too. There was a streamer, a certain person that wears glasses. I'm not going to say his name. I think I'm talking with a goatee, and he's like, "Yeah, Piccolo might eventually get to Super Saiyan 2 level." And I'm like, you really think Super Saiyan 2 is even a thing that still is considered strength when everybody on the Universe 17 was over there fighting characters that could take on gods and what? I'm like, man, who are you talking to? Terminator decided to show up. Yeah, Ruben was messing with him yesterday about his name. He was like, the first two Terminators are good. The other ones are horrible. Damn. Like, really? Ruben turned into the movie critic. It's like, I came to give my analysis. Yeah, so there's actually a video that I contemplated making, which is like why Janemba was wasted, but um I actually don't think that's the case in that film because when I really think about the only thing they could have done different with him in terms of just a reasonable plot point that could have been changed given the time the running time of that um was probably have him fight Gogeta a little bit more because when Gogeta comes out, that's basically the end for Janemba. Like it's a one and done fight. And I didn't like that because it meant we didn't like if you want to do a video on why Gogeta was wasted, I would definitely say that that has a lot more footing than Janemba being wasted. Because Janemba actually gets to, do what he wants to do in that film and get a lot of screen time. Vader says, despite the fact that we saw Kale surpass Blue initially and then gets bodied by Super Saiyan God Goku, even when she teamed up. Yeah, I don't really understand what the levels of strength are. Like I'm kind of confused as to the power at this point because it seems like anytime the writers want to have somebody just appear cool, they have them beat up multiple people. And then remember, they just have and when they have their backs to the wall, they just give them a transformation. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that line about her supposedly being on this level is just a lie. Like they just say things. Mm. Yeah, I'd say the only thing that really disappoints me is that Janemba, like when you were saying that he's similar to Boo Bader, notice that I mentioned how Kid Buu only gets to like he's supposed to be this big huge threat, but then only fights Goku and Vegeta. Even after Gohan and Gotenks and all these other people get resurrected, they still won't be allowed to fight him for some reason. Janemba's got the same problem where he fights that little Saiyan duo of dads that the writers seem to think are the only people anybody wants to see at all ever. And that's where the latter part of the Buu saga and just that arc is so intrinsic of everything I think is wrong with this show. If my back tingles, can I turn into a Super Saiyan? Oh yeah, with Khalifa. I already told you that people got mad when we were saying that she was a Mary Sue over that. It's just like I've never seen any of the Saiyans get the, and then even if you say Goten and Trunks got it cheaply, which they did, it still doesn't justify her doing a back tingle and then suddenly having this supposedly important transformation that requires all this hard work. So I said Super Saiyans after Gohan have just been like handouts. They don't even care. They just give you a form. You saw what they did with Black, where he has one fight with Goku, and then all of a sudden he gets this brand new sparkly form with no explanation. We should really rename the Dragon Ball after the Cell Saga into Transformers because that's all they do is just transform. Any new threat? Oh, we gotta get a new form. No new techniques. Yeah, I'd say out of anything they could have done with Janemba, I would have liked to have seen him go to Earth. Like what gets on my nerves is you bring back Broly and Cooler, at least one more time. Those are the only two movie villains out of the first 13 that actually get to show up twice. In Broly's case, three times. And then with Janemba, it feels like if they had maybe been allowed to go past the Buu arc, they might have been able to do something with him. Because I've read before that even when the Buu arc was going on, it was not immediately known that was the ending of it. That's why Toriyama had that note at the end of the manga where he's like, I've decided to end this manga. So it would have been really interesting to see maybe if they had like a fifth arc in the manga, they could have brought back Janemba. Because that's what they did with Broly, where he shows up during the Cell era films and then gets to show up during the period of the Buu arc. So in that regard, Janemba got the short end of the stick. He's attacked almost all the way at the end of it. And I personally find him more appealing than I'd say most of the villains. Like Turles is meh, Garlic Jr. is all right. Well, Turles is just evil Goku in that. We've seen that. I guess he suffers from retroactive repetition where that was like a novel idea at the time, but now because of Black, I'm just sick of it. Left a bad taste in my mouth. Um, you know, yeah, I don't really see what is so, what's a good way of saying it, unique about a lot of these different antagonists. I am not even that excited about Janemba appearing. One, because he is returning in Drag. Oh God, that show. In Heroes 2, because a recolor is not screaming excitement. 3, he appeared. He already appeared before. Well, yeah, but my thing is with the show, you can do more than a movie. So if they're able to pull off an interesting story with him, I don't really have a problem with him appearing. Like I was upset with Frieza coming back because I actually saw the film and thought they did a pretty bad job with bringing him back. Uh, but when he came back in the Tournament of Power and I watched it, I thought it was decent that they did something interesting with him. So, I guess I'm more lenient in the sense that if you can find something new to do with the antagonist, I don't have a problem with them showing up again. Like if their return can affect the story in a decent way, I'm a lot more lenient with them showing up repeatedly or more than once. His previous transformation with the Black Dragon Ball was better looking, and yeah, I like that form he had in Xenoverse 2 with the it's like what, two different blues on top of each other. Well, that's what I'm saying, Bader. They rewrote him, and that's what they did with Broly, and people apparently like that. And remember, Broly got 3 movies to try to get some supposedly good character out of, and it didn't happen. They had to do a 4th one. And then Mr. Saturday, who I haven't seen in like what, a month, says Janemba is returning. Yeah, in Heroes. I don't know why they couldn't just have him established as some deity in hell that enjoys being evil because he feeds off of it, and then he comes to Earth and tries to feed off of the people that are there, and then the Z fighters get involved with stopping him. And you could have like a whole arc where he's like lurking in the shadows, and the Z fighters are all training and trying to figure out some way of defeating him. And maybe they defeat him by sealing him up in the Mafuba, because with the Mafuba, instead of killing him off, so that if they want to use him again, he can come back out, at some different point. Because remember, he was created, from that soul of evil, that container of evil being destroyed. So they could homage that, but just put him in a different location. That's why I said with a show, you can do a lot more in terms of getting certain characters involved. And with a lot of those films prior to Battle of Gods, they have this thing where they have a really limited runtime. So there's certain stuff they can't do that the show could. That's why I said it really sucks we didn't get to see him meet Piccolo, because they're both having to do with, I guess, the lore of demons. Where, when Piccolo showed up, they thought he was a demon, and he turned out to just be an extraterrestrial. So it would be nice to see him fight an actual demon. I remember, Bader, you were saying that that Moro is trying to homage Janemba by having the unique power before you had said that he was trying to homage Cell with that new design of his, that new wacky tacky appearance. I would pay good money to have him kill Moro and be like, get lost, lesser magician. Hey, that'd be nice before he kills Moro. He finds a way to like get 7-3 out of him or something, so we can go back to having a more interesting antagonist than the main one. Say 7-3 is like the new Deborah where they just wasted him. So in like 10 years, people are gonna be like, I only remember 7-3 as Moro's lack. He's like, yeah, but he could have been more than that. He is not a homage to Cell. He is a rip-off Cell. Well, you get what I was saying that if with the Janemba idea I had, where you basically take something from the original film, but then you spice it up enough because you're reinventing the character. Oh, imagine if they had it to where Janemba was like weak to light, where he could only come out during the night or in the darkness. And that creates a thing where the Z fighters have to find him during the night when he's out prowling around trying to absorb people's evilness to make himself more powerful. Yeah, because we don't really have villains with actual weaknesses ever, like to where that you know like a kryptonite almost. Well, again, it's on that idea of evil and darkness. That's a theme of his in that in the Infusion Reborn. So it's just taking that and sticking it on Earth. Because in Hell, from what I've seen of it, you know, I know it's non-canon, but it appears that they don't really have a night and day over there. It's just the same sky, you know, every day, all day for eternity. Or hell, they could have I guess, a tale where he's beating them up at night, and then he loses because the sun comes out, and he combusts into a million pieces. We've never had something like that before, where the conditions of Earth actually benefit the protagonist. The closest we get is when they use the spirit bomb over and over and over again. As far as personality, they could probably I mean, they could just have him like first and second form Cell, where he's only doing the evil things that he does because he has to do that to survive. And then maybe they could have the protagonist be like, hey, well, you know, you can get this dark energy if we send you to hell or something like that. Basically, it's like a bargaining thing initially where he appears like he can be malleable. But then because he enjoys feeding off of other people's pain so much, to where it's almost like a drug for him, like an addict, he, says no and just resorts to, keep trying to do it while staying away from them. When a regular guy has better plots. We gotta understand a lot of the stuff being written about the show is just from a merchandising standpoint. So they probably could come up with some good ideas too, but they're concerned about coins. And Toyotaro is really a disgrace at this point because he is not. What's a good way of saying it? It seems like he has a lot more liberty with the manga, so I don't even know what he's doing. Like Moro doesn't have any toys. He's not in any games. He's just letting him run for 2 years. I point this out to Bader that the Moro arc in the manga is literally a third of the entire manga. And how that's really ridiculous when you consider that every arc before that one wasn't even like a year and a half long. This one's been going on for almost 2 years. Bader trying to get my stream banned with that thing he just wrote. You're gonna have somebody be like, I thought you said you didn't curse. Why does the chat swear so much? He's gonna get me in trouble for that profanity. So he's gonna come under and be like, even if Super sucks, I'd rather watch than you because it doesn't swear as much as that chat. Like I agree. Oh, and if they wanted to do something with Frieza, they could, because remember how at the end of the Broly movie, Frieza signifies that he's going to continue messing with Goku or trying to get revenge. They could have Frieza come to Earth and like offer his services to assist him with collecting people's souls and the evil from within them. The writers are just morons. Yeah, that's pretty much what they are. They it's not even writers, it's just Toyotaro. Like the show actually had writers. It had people who were working on different episodes. The manga is just Toyotaro and like some of Toriyama sprinkled in. Like we know for a fact that Toriyama draws some panels on, he doesn't tell us which ones, but we know he's involved in a minimalist way. Well, yeah, Toriyama has the initial draft of the plot, and then Toyotaro can do whatever he wants in between. That's why the manga and the show have differing ways of getting to the same execution, because the writers of both, so Toyotaro for the manga, the writers of the show, they have the luxury of being able to do whatever they want in between. Oh, don't start with that. What was I gonna say? Yeah, Fusion Reborn really it just suffers for me from Janemba having like no personality. And he has a really cool look. He's got cool powers, but they don't really give him any motivation to be evil. And again, that's something that we have a problem with the other antagonists. Uh, but it's like when I guess maybe it's really frustrating with him because all the other villains don't have that same really unique power. Like if they just had this one additional trait, it'd be perfect, and they couldn't do it. When we had Austin say earlier, when a regular guy has better plots, when designers can make a good look but not a good character. Jack had a lot of potential. I mean, I guess I still think it's funny that his woman henchman gets, I forgot what it was, like Zengaya or whatever. She gets to be playable in multiple games, but only like doesn't even have a minute of screen time in that film. It's her and Fasha that basically got put into Tenkaichi 3 because they wanted more female characters. No, he's not, Kevin. He doesn't have a beef with the Saiyans. If Bojack was the alien version of Broly, if he was the alien version of the original one, he would be going, "Go on, go on. You cried when I was a baby." And if he was the alien version of the new Broly, he would just be evil when he gets his transformation or gets angry. If Janemba isn't acting like a ghost demon, I don't know if I even, you said event, if I even want to see him after Moro. We don't know what we're getting after Moro. But Toyotaro has drawn Janemba at least twice. He had a drawing of him where it was a weird one. He had him controlled by Babidi and Toa and some other setup where it was it was pretty crazy looking. Like his face looked like a helmet. I think it's supposed to be a time breaker, and then he also drew him from the side where he's like looking like that. So I do have evidence to support the idea that Toyotaro at least likes him. Now, as far as if he'll be canon or be the villain of a story, I have no idea. I lean toward no because uh, I just don't see it. I'd like it, but I don't think they're going to do it. That's why everybody keeps going, "Oh, Cooler's going to be the next one to be canon." Apparently, nobody is. If we still haven't heard anything on when this new movie's coming out. Kevin asks, "Are all DBZ movies non-canon?" No. Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, which are the last two, are considered canon, but the other ones are not. There's supposed to be these alternate timelines where like certain events don't play out. Like apparently, Dead Zone is what if Raditz didn't show up during the Saiyan saga? What if the Saiyans didn't show up? That's apparently what would have happened. And I always noticed this that none of the main villains ever actually appear in the movies. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. Like none of the villains in the show appear in the films at all. That's why Vegeta didn't appear in the movie until the sixth one, which was the Metal Cooler one, because Toei operated under the assumption that he was a villain that was just showing up regularly for an arc or two. Um, that's crazy to think about 5 straight Z movies with no Vegeta. It was just Goku, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo, the A team. Um, but yeah, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F are considered canon. All the ones before that are just Elseworld stories. But yeah, Fusion Reborn also is the only film out of the original 13 that has a main villain in it, not counting Vegeta, because he shows up. Frieza shows up in that for a little piece of it. Vader says, if you want a magician villain with unique abilities, guess you got to settle for Moro. That is, if there is anything unique about Moro besides his goat looks. Well, I already said, outside of his design, he just is a contradicting, boring character. Like, I wish the villains were half as interesting as the protagonist in Dragon Ball. That franchise is very lucky its protagonists are appealing or have unique personnel. Like they stick the landing as much as they do. If it was going on the villains, but just it would be a blowout. Yeah, Janemba gets to be the main villain of what game was that? Let me go look. I know Bader mentioned it earlier. Let me go see. It's like is it Budokai? It's one of the Budokai games I remember correctly. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't ask for a review on Heroes. I hate that so much. What a lousy show. Like I've never watched something Dragon Ball related and felt such a sense of regret. like what the hell? Oh, here it is, Shin Budokai. I remember that game. Yeah, where he gets to revive multiple, dead villains and try to get himself into Vegeta's body because we need an evil Vegeta for the third time, an evil possessed Vegeta for the third time. Babidi and Baby weren't enough. That's why when people are like, "We needed Vegeta Black," I'm like, "You want another evil Vegeta?" Yeah, that was a PSP game. I think it was on some other consoles. I'm pretty sure. Let me go look. Uh, oh yeah, it was exclusive to PSP. Wow. It's that game and Tenkaichi Tag Team that are exclusive to PSP. Yeah, they did something pretty similar with the Boro where they have him I guess heavily like he's a very important character in the plot of the two X Universe games because Toa's out to get revenge for his death, even though he's not in that game, which is crazy as hell. And then the second one, he gets to be the main antagonist of some DLC. Vader says Shin Budokai gives Vegeta more respect in the actual series. Imagine that. Well, it seems like a lot of the games lean more toward actually doing things with the cast versus the actual show itself. Did I grow up owning slash playing any DBZ games? I can't believe Kevin would ask something like that. The answer is yes. I used to own Legacy of Goku 2. I think that was the first handheld game I had. And I remember I went to the store to buy was that Sonic Advance 3? And I remember the woman that was working at the counter, she was like, "Yeah, everybody's talking about this game," and she was pointing at Legacy of Goku 2. And I remember I was in this barber shop one time, and this kid was playing it, and he let me play on there, and I didn't know that when you beat the game, you can't play as Goku anymore because it adapts to Cell Saga. And I was like, "Where's Goku? Where is he?" And I remember when Boost Fury came out, that was the first game I ever ordered off the internet because I want to play it so badly. And I had Tenkaichi 3, which is probably still my favorite fighting game. Too bad it's now used as a punching bag to sell games with smaller with smaller, crappier rosters. You want a game that doesn't just have 10 or 20 people? So yeah, it was probably it was those three, and then what other ones? Rage and Blast 2. Yeah, I didn't play Budokai until like way later. The closest I came to playing that when I was younger was Burst Limit. Dragon Ball fans love to straw man your point. If you say this game's roster is bad, you want 90 more characters. They don't let you criticize anything without like jumping in the way, like they're trying to save their baby from getting killed or something. Like your criticisms are going to kill the game, so they have to jump in the way and take the blast. Well, I like the customization of Ultimate Tenkaichi. I didn't get it because I heard nothing but bad things about it. But it was at least good for that. Oh, and having a unique story, which is something that is so rare to find in a DB game that it's not even funny. And I even said to one person before that, yeah, I think Fighter's story sucks, but I'd still buy it because I'm not, it's just a minor thing. I'm not about to sit here and trash good gameplay over a rehash story or a boring story. I try to be consistent with that, where the actual gameplay is what matters. So yeah, that's I guess my history with these games. Oh, and I played Advanced Adventure. I didn't get that far in that, and then that transformation game, which was, if I remember correctly, I thought it was pretty lousy. Back then, it was all about story. Now it's about online. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't like a lot of the new games, where it's just like you don't really, when you buy these games, you don't really get a full game. You get like a little extension pack to go play with other people. I think it's really lame. And I told you online is what they use to basically put out unfinished games, all this DLC. We can't just have Xenoverse 3. You have to download almost a dozen packs of DLC. I'm not saying that as a joke. They're about to be on DLC 12. It's a big problem with that franchise. All the games recently, like Kakarot Fighters, Xenoverse, they're all there to just play this never-ending thing of DLC. They put out this unfinished game, and then they want you to buy all this DLC. Well, I only didn't pick up the second Xenoverse because I didn't have a console to play it on. Um, but if I were to pick any of the new games, the ones that are currently in circulation, the big three, it'd be that one. It's the one that I've got the least amount of problems with, and it sucks too because Kakarot. It would have been so easy for that game to appeal to me, but they just screwed it up. He's Universe 2 filled with modders now. We don't play online. When I played Tenkaichi 3, like literally everything I did in that game was just me playing the versus mode. That's why I said a lot of these games, because they're so intrinsically tied to stuff online, other people ruin them versus the actual game, being bad. Like if I got fighters, I would just download all the DLC and I would just play it on versus mode because I'm good. Too many lies and cheap stuff happens online. I thought it was funny that Janemba's in that game as what is it, DLC? I feel like he's not necessarily a basic character. Like if I think of like a fighting game roster for Z, because he's only in one film and then he's not, I guess, one of the more popular movie villains, but he I'm just kind of disappointed isn't part of the, like, I guess maybe it's because all the other games have him in them other than the first Xuniverse, that it's weird seeing him as DLC. It's like, oh, that character Janemba, the one that was in Tenkaichi 3 and Rage and Blast and Rage. Yeah, well, now you get to play as him, but you gotta pay for him, even though you already paid for the damn game. I played Bursum in a long time. I don't know why they made the very ill-informed decision to have that end at the Cell Saga. That was not too bright in my opinion, but whatever. Oh, they love doing that. Let me go look. Is he in Rage and Blast? No, he's not in the first one. He's in the second one. Yeah, he's just another basic character that when he's not part of a fighting game roster, I'm just doing this. Like when they left Hercule out of Fighters, like Hercule is literally in the majority of these games. He's not some random person you can just leave out. So I said it's crazy. The people they cut out and they get away with. Oh, Kevin, please don't start that. Don't start with that. Don't make me go to that website it's left me with such disdain for these fans. See if I can find this general info. I've been out here in so long. Where's that page? I'll just type it in on Google. I don't know why people like repeating that so much. We're gonna have Kevin do his homework. Anyways, you can click on that link, Kevin. It'll take you to basically a page that debunks every single proposed ending for the show except for the last one. Because with every arc after the second world tournament, people said that Dragon Ball was supposed to end. They said it was supposed to end at Piccolo Daimao during the Piccolo Junior arc, the Saiyan saga, the Frieza sagas, every arc it's supposed to end, or it was supposed to be the ending, and they just kept extending it magically. So it's just, if you heard that it ended at the Cell Saga or supposed to end there, that was just an urban legend. Mm. I don't know who made that. It's just like that person said Piccolo was originally supposed to be the one that went Majin. According to who? Oh yeah, they have this form of Janemba called where he gets merged with baby Janemba, and it's basically him with blue eyes. It's just so lazy looking because I don't even necessarily like Super Baby 2 is okay as far as just looking distinct, but at least it's a design that you could tell effort went into making. Like even if you don't like the way it looks, it still is a unique looking design. Which actually GT had a lot of. People like to hate on it, but Super Saiyan 4, Sin Shenron, Omega Shenron, Super 17, they all have distinct looks to them. Yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier that his the person who was running the ogre that was running the soul cleaning machine broke it, and then all the evil came on him, and that's when we got Janemba. So I said that earlier, but that tells you Kevin didn't even watch it from the beginning. He just came in. He's like that person that skips to episode 20 of some 200 episode show. He misses all the beginning parts. Yeah, that form looks so goofy. But that would have been a really a good idea for some kind of alternate universe, which is what I thought the tournament of power was going to be when they're like, oh, this is universe 7 and 6 and 3. That's how it is in DC, where they have the different universes like named with a number. So the main DC universe of the comics is Earth 1, and then Earth 2 is the old stuff, and then Earth 3 is the evil versions, of crime syndicate. um, they could have had some story where you know baby met Janemba, and then I guess was impressed by his power and tried to use that to his advantage. Except instead of wanting to harness evil or just eat a bunch of dark energy, they could have him come over to Earth and then use that form with their combined powers. So you have baby's intelligence with Janemba's power, and it's supposed to be this really dangerous combination. DC or Marvel? DC. Marvel has a whole bunch of different timelines with random numbers. Like the main universe for Marvel is 616, and then they get even more murkier after that. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that new form of his that we saw. What, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, around the time that chapter was close to coming out. I don't know who Kevin's calling a good man. I hope he's not saying it to me sarcastically. I'll be very hurt. I'll just disperse these tears, and we'll have a watery stream. Yeah, it's really sad none of the games other than Tenkaichi 3 put the yellow form in. It's like we can get base Goku and Vegeta, but we can't get base Janemba. Because at least that looks very distinct, you know? And it's very unfortunate they won't let him appear in that. Let me see if I can find this black form, see if I can discuss it. Um, Dr. W supplies the old and damaged soul cleansing machine with data from Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, awakening Janemba in a new, more powerful state. Oh, that's from that episode of that show. So yeah, he's appearing in Heroes, which will do nothing to change my opinion of that show. I really do not like it at all. When do new Super episodes come out? Isn't that the question we're all trying to figure out? Well, apparently it was supposed to come back this year, but then the virus happened and delayed it even further. The only thing we know we're supposed to be getting for sure is another movie, which could still take, another year or two to come out. I have no idea when it, like, the only new thing I pay any attention to is the manga because it's the only one that actually is stable. Everything else is just kind of all over the place. But yeah, if they were going to put Janemba in the manga, they'd have to change the setting to Earth because no one is dead out of, like the major cast that has always been around. So they could have the same basic premise of the ogre that is slacks off and whatnot. Uh, when do you stream Super? Oh, where do you stream Super episodes? Go on Crunchyroll. I mean, there's another website where you can watch it for free, but I'm not trying to get in trouble. I'm not trying to have Toei be like, while you were talking about Janemba, you gave this person this website. We are coming for you. Oh, it'd be cool if they find a way to tie, because Super has a problem with organic storytelling. If they found a way to tie Janemba coming back to Moro being around, like when he was absorbing energy from some planet, all these evil people were transported to hell, and that's where Janemba got even more power. So, like, they actually give Moro a legacy, because that would tie Janemba returning into what's going on with Moro currently. I would just hope that they would find a unique way to have him defeated in Super and not just, oh, let's bring back Blue Gogeta a second time. Like, they can have that form show up, but what they do with fusions, unless it's a movie, they don't actually get to beat the main villain. Like, Janemba's got the distinction of being one of the few villains in anything Dragon Ball related that's actually been defeated by a fusion. Is Super filled with filler? There is no filler in Super. It's got stuff that doesn't necessarily tie to the main plot, but because the manga was for the most part behind, except for one instance, there is no filler. I already talked about that on that fusion stream I did, where it's like you make all these fusions and then they only get to show up and do some little move for like a half an episode and then vanish and be in the back pocket of the characters in case the writer wants to waste even more time. And it's really unfortunate because if they wanted Gotenks to actually matter, all they had to do was just have him be part of the final fight against Kid Buu. Like, do something that the others couldn't, and it would have been as simple as that. They could have just said that that he is the only reason that Goten and Trunks could fight Kid Buu, and that would have been enough as far as making him actually mean something to the overall narrative of that show. Well, Ruben, most of the movie and main villains don't have personalities. Well, and it's actually kind of funny that you bring Nappa up because he did demonstrate a little bit of one when him and Vegeta were talking about coming to Earth, and he was like, "Hey, maybe we should procreate with the humans as a way of continuing on the Saiyans." And then Vegeta just dismisses that idea. That's why it's ironic in hindsight because the person who talked about wanting to procreate with the humans doesn't, but the person who dismissed it does. When Gohan got his mythical inner power and ends up whooped by Super Buu. Yeah, it was just a waste of time. They have him do all that training just to get smacked around like anybody else. And like I said, when that initially came out, I thought they were just making Super Boo stronger because they didn't want to just hand Gohan the victory. So they were going to have him fight, Go Tank's Boo, and then like maybe catch him off guard with some move, or have him unfuse. Like what I'm saying. It would have. I thought they were doing that as a way of giving him some kind of harder to earn victory, but no, they just have him get absorbed too, so they can do some more Goku and Vegeta bootlicking. Like it's that part of the Boo arc and Fusion Reborn that just cement the Goku and Vegeta era of everything, of just these two characters that are like Siamese twins fighting and combating all the main antagonists while everybody else sits at home. Because before Super came out, Janemba was pretty much the only. It was him, Kid Buu, and Omega Shenron that are like the only villains that Goku and Vegeta fight together. Yeah, but the Bardock special that everybody likes, not anymore. A lot of what's in Z is no longer canon, unfortunately. So the scene with Baby Goku and Grandpa Gohan, that's no longer canon. Um, Again, the Bardock special got reversed. It's just stupid. That's one of the things I didn't like about the Broly film. That they retcon a whole bunch of stuff. They didn't have to. All they had to do was just show scenes of Paragus and Broly on, like just it would have been so easy to not get the other characters involved in that, or to keep that movie intact. Rather, they find ways to screw up everything. Somebody said they should do an arc where it's Janemba and Kid Buu together, where they go to hell and they see Kid Buu hanging out with Janemba, and they find a way to get out of there together. Because I've noticed they don't really. They're the only other pairing of villains I can think of besides Cell and Frieza. A better explanation for the origin of Trunks would have been that Bulma, as a scientist, cloned Vegeta and then fused the clone with human cells to create Trunks. I mean, I guess, like I said, the only that pairing, just I've always thought, was just Toriyama wanting to make another Saiyan and then putting Vegeta with the only other broad that was relevant in the story at that point. Which sucks because they could have just had to be launching Vegeta. We hadn't seen launch in what, 3 arcs at that point, or 2 rather. A better explanation. I just picture Ruben. He goes up to Toriyama. He's like, "Hell, if you want to have Vegeta have a kid, you got to make sure that it's not from him actually being intimate with some woman. I'm not buying that." And then he gives him this draft. I could just imagine Ruben just reacts with rage. He's like, "This origin doesn't make sense. Mine's is better. Use it." So yeah, what else I can say? I just wish they would do something with Janemba that actually lets him be the main villain and keep the powers he had that were cool, but also let him interact with most of the cast. Like at least with Moro, they've allowed him to come to Earth and feel like a threat to the planet instead of being like Goku Black, where he just sits in this backwater timeline that 99% of us don't care about, or if we do, it's only because one regular cast member is affected by it. Well, Kevin, I mean, it isn't anymore. It's still a good movie. I just, you know, have now been told that it doesn't matter because they're dumb. We have more reason to believe Garlic Jr. is canon than that. Yeah, the writers really dropped the ball. But look, I'm gonna get off of here because I think I've spoken at length. So thanks for showing up. I'll stream tomorrow as well, and then we'll go from there. So see you later. I hope you enjoyed it.